Coming up as First at 4 continues, inflation is showing some small signs of improvement. We'll tell you what's cheaper and what's more expensive. Plus, leaders at the G7 summit look to boost support for Ukraine. Details coming up.
Temperatures right now are in the 70s and 80s, and that warming trend continues. Details in a few minutes.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
The Batcats are on their way to Omaha, but before the University of Kentucky baseball team embarked on their journey, fans were outside Kentucky Proud Park to say goodbye. Alyssa Williams was also there, hearing more about what this means to those fans.
Excitement is in the air as dozens of fans gathered to watch the University of Kentucky baseball team send off to Omaha. In attendance at Kentucky Proud Park to watch the buses load up were lifelong fans Carol Allen and Ann Davis.
I think it's great they did this for the team to really get to see us people that are diehard fans come out here just to say goodbye and good luck.
This marks a historic send-off for the Batcats, given it's the first time in program history they'll play at the College World Series.
Oh, me and my dad, we were jumping up and down, almost through a couch.
The coaches, the players, they've worked for this. They deserve it. All of the recognition that they are getting, it's astounding. They deserve it.
Shannon Collins is a lifelong UK fan. She says it's moments like this that show young athletes like her son Tyler that you can dream big when it comes to college sports.
This is a dream of his. He would love to play baseball one day here and be a University of Kentucky Wildcat. Why not?
As many of these fans showed out for a successful season, they're hoping this weekend's game against NC State will bring success as well.
It's so much fun to sit back and watch because it's their time. Now it is their time to go do this.
In Lexington, Alyssa Williams, WYMT.
And some fans say they will be making the trip to Omaha alongside the Batcats this weekend. The FBI is looking to crack down on fraud scams targeting older people across the Commonwealth and the country. The FBI recently released a new elder fraud report. Their findings show last year people over age 60 reported total losses of more than $3.4 billion. That's an almost 11% increase from 2022. More than 15,000 of last year's complaints from those over 60 involved the use of cryptocurrency. FBI agents say technology-based scams are heavily targeting people who might be learning how to use it.
There are times when these individuals don't have, family and friends to look to tell them that this might be, there's an issue here. And so in addition to those components, they are also not tech savvy. So with the technology continuing to evolve and get more complex, the individuals who are older that don't have that education to know.
The FBI says it works with state and local agencies to track fraud and hold any thieves responsible.
All right, we are seeing temperatures in the 70s and 80s right now. The warming trend will continue as we go into the second half of the work week. Here's the latest with our camera network around the region. You can see WYMT Studios, Buffalo Mountain. We're seeing a mixture of sun and clouds. Jenkins is looking pretty nice as well. Moorhead seeing a mixture of sun and clouds. London, Corbin seeing mainly sunny skies out there. Pikeville seeing a little bit of cloud cover at this hour. Live pinpoint Doppler radar scanning the skies, showing a clean sweep across the area. This will get a break as we go into the second half of the work week, going into the weekend. And basically, if you have plans, just make sure you stay hydrated. Here's what we're going to talk about in the next check of weather. The warming trend continues. The triple-digit heat indices will continue this weekend as well. And there is a chance of precip as we go throughout the weekend. And we'll talk about that coming up in the First Alert forecast in a few minutes. Olivia, over to you.
Eric, thank you. President Biden will sign a new security agreement with Ukraine during the G7 summit. WYMT Washington correspondent John Decker is in Italy with the details.
A day after his son Hunter was convicted on federal gun charges, President Biden set to arrive here in Italy to attend the G7 summit. The meeting of leaders of the 7 largest economies will focus primarily on showing strong support for Ukraine now and into the future. A senior White House official says the G7 will announce new steps to use frozen Russian assets to benefit Ukraine in their war effort against Russia and in reconstruction. The G7 also expected to announce new sanctions against Russia aimed at further restricting Russia's future revenues in the oil sector. China will also be a focus of the G7, with leaders set to address its support for the Russian defense industry. The White House confirms the war between Israel and Hamas will play a prominent role in the G7's discussions. G7 leaders have already endorsed President Biden's new proposal for a ceasefire and the release of all hostages. The G7 also calling on Hamas to accept the deal. In Bari, Italy, I'm John Decker.
Federal law enforcement says 8 people with suspected ties to the terror group ISIS have been arrested after crossing over from Mexico. Officials say all 8 foreign nationals are from Tajikistan, a Central Asian country that borders Afghanistan and China. Last week, FBI Director Christopher Wray said there had been an uptick in the number of suspected terrorists attempting to cross the border, and warned that budget cuts were hurting his agency's ability to learn about them.
As we collect less information about foreign terrorists overseas, there's less information to be had about who the people coming into this country are.
Sources say there is not an active terror plot. These arrests come after ISIS-K, a regional affiliate of ISIS with an active presence in Tajikistan, claimed responsibility for a deadly attack at a March concert in Moscow. Dengue fever is a mosquito-borne illness that mostly occurs in the tropics, but new cases in the U.S. are causing concern. Mosquitoes spread the disease by biting someone who is infected, then biting and infecting someone else. Most people with the fever don't show symptoms, but some develop severe disease that can turn deadly.
Dengue is also known as breakbone fever, and that's because you have this terrible bone pain. You can also have pain behind your eyes. You can have nausea.
The CDC says the vast majority of U.S. cases are travel associated, but there are a small number of cases in the states. Miami-Dade County has the most cases in the country. They are currently spraying in areas where cases of the fever have been confirmed. Kentucky will receive $9 million from the Johnson & Johnson settlement. It's the state's share of the $700 million nationwide settlement for its baby and body powder products. Kentucky, along with 42 other states, investigated Johnson & Johnson and found it misled consumers about the safety of its products. As part of the settlement, Johnson & Johnson also agreed to stop the sale of talc products. The Federal Reserve announces its latest decision on internet rates as the government releases new data on inflation. Danya Backus has a look inside the numbers.
Some good news at the grocery store. Prices didn't go down, but they did remain steady from April to May. And drivers are getting a break at the pump. AAA says the national average is down about 16 cents a gallon in the last month. Overall, inflation eased to 3.3% in May, down from 3.4% in April.
I think this report is encouraging. We're moving in the right direction. But, at the end of the day, prices are still pretty high. I think that's what's weighing on consumers still.
That includes housing costs. Rent prices shot up nearly 5.5% in the last year. And borrowing money to buy a home remains expensive. 3 years ago, mortgage rates were under 3%. They are now at nearly 7%.
Good afternoon.
A significant drop isn't expected anytime soon. The Federal Reserve decided to once again keep interest rates the same in an attempt to ease rising prices. And the board now says it only plans 1 rate cut sometime this year. Previously, the Fed had considered 3 cuts.
We know that reducing policy restraint too soon or too much could result in a reversal of the progress that we've seen on inflation.
Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says the board wants inflation down to just 2%. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
Until the Fed is convinced that there is a long-term trend that is in place, I don't think they're going to be ready to cut rates anytime soon.
Some analysts are predicting a rate cut in September, but others believe it might not happen until the end of the year. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And coming up as First at 4 continues, if you get your TV and movies through streaming services, get ready to see a summer price hike, news raising rates, and how you can cut back on your spending.
And with temperatures going into the 90s, now would be the good time to make sure you have the WYMT First Alert weather app downloaded or updated on your device to receive the latest information for your area as we go throughout this Father's Day weekend. I'll have your full First Alert forecast coming up on the other side of the break. Stay with us.